In this video, we'll look at how to create weld joints in Corona SDK. Joints can be used to assemble complex physical objects from multiple rigid bodies. For example, joints can be used to join the limbs of a ragdoll figure, attach the wheels of a vehicle to its body, create a moving elevator platform, and so on. Most joints are used to connect two rigid physical bodies, which means you must first create these bodies and then submit them as arguments to the physics.newJointConstructor function, along with other properties that may vary depending on the type of joint being created. A weld joint can be used to rigidly attach two bodies at a specified anchor point in content space coordinates. The initial arguments of physics.newJoint are bodies A and B to be joined, followed by an x and y coordinate for the anchor point. Due to mathematical approximation, this joint may appear slightly soft during simulation, even if the dampening ratio and frequency properties are set to prevent this behavior. If you want to assemble multiple shapes without the risk of flexing, consider creating a multi-element body as shown in the Physics Bodies Guide. Notice in the simulation that the two bodies don't necessarily need to overlap, and the joint anchor doesn't necessarily need to reside within one of the bodies. In fact, the two bodies can be completely separated, and the weld joint will still join the bodies together as if a rigid, invisible link exists between them. Let's look at the code for creating weld joints. In this example, we've added our required physics library, started the physics engine, and set our gravity. We've also set the draw mode to hybrid so we can see where our anchor points connect. Next, we've created three shapes. Two of the shapes are squares that will be welded together, and the third shape will act as the ground to keep the two objects from falling off the screen. Both squares are given dynamic body types so they can move around and react to forces. Each object will react to physical forces, but since they are welded together, any reaction by one object will impact the other object as well. To make things more interesting, we've set the rotation of the welded square to -25, which in turn affects both objects because of the weld joint. Next, we created our joint by calling physics.newJoint and passed in the required parameters. Check the documentation on the Corona Labs website for more details on working with weld joints. If a joint is no longer needed, you can destroy it by calling either object:"removeSelf" or display.remove. It's important to note that if one of the joined bodies is destroyed, the associated joint will automatically be destroyed as well. However, remember to properly remove and nil any references to a joint which has been destroyed. And that's a look at how to create weld joints in Corona SDK. Learn more about working with Corona SDK at coronalabs.com/university.